Should Christians be involved in politics? Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. That comes from the Ten Commandments, and that's politics. 100% Christians should learn about politics. Should they be involved in it? That's up to your church you go to. I think that if somebody has a gift of evangelism, a pastor, uh, he may choose not to be involved in politics, and maybe it's okay for him to even prefer his church not be so much, but publicly, that is. And so, because for the reason of that, I think that could be okay. Is well, I don't agree that they should tell me not to be. I don't agree they should tell other Christians not to be. But people from their own body, they can say, well, you can go to another church. I'm not against you being involved in politics, but this church wants to concentrate on making a clear message and not getting it confused that everybody is welcome to Jesus for salvation. Okay? And so, me, I have the gift of evangelism too. And I'm not against of speaking well. But but I have that passion, and I choose to be involved in politics. And I don't see any life outside of being involved in that when we have a free country to be involved in it. And I think what I do in politics, I protect the right for other people to evangelize, and it also advances truth, which advances the faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God, and basically by hearing truth, and it tells us to tell the truth. So nobody has to be publicly involved. Well, in some ways you could argue that's a hard one there, because you should want to stand up for Christ in politics. You should definitely, but some people think that only place you have to stand up is at the voting booth. Okay? So there is a party in America, the Democrat Party, that is intolerant of God. Your vote is saying we don't want God in the flag. We don't want him in our. That's what the Democrat vote does. It has intolerance for God, and that's completely cancels the Democrat Party out as an option for me, right? And it should, I think, for any Christian. I do think that. So if you're a true Christian, you're going to care about God being in there, right? Republicans, anybody that votes Republican, they're at least tolerant of God, even if they don't believe in him, because they know that we argue for one nation under God and keeping God in there, and keeping in God we trust in there, and that we argue for the Declaration of Independence that says we're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Anyway, see, I can't talk well, but it's hard. But we all are defined as one human race. So the point is, if you don't believe in God, what's wrong with lying? And so there's one party that lies and calls people racist who believe in one human race. And while they're promoting evolution, which defines us as unequal races and has no love your neighbor in it, no God. That's racist. That's the real definition of racism, to believe we're different races instead of one race, bottom line. All right, so there's all kinds of lies from that party, and then they'll lie and say everybody lies, that all politicians lie. No, they don't. If they believe in God, they don't want to lie, because they want to be blessed. They want joy, real joy, not fake joy within their own heart. I mean, why do you want to be joyless in your own heart? Not at peace in your own heart for lying. If you believe in God, you know you don't like that. So you like to square up, and lie. Anybody's human and can lie when they get hungry, real hungry and starving. They could possibly lie or something, or if they're feeling threatened, they could do a white lie. That can happen, but a lot of people are focused enough not to, right? So I wanted to say, I didn't want to. It's hard to make this short because it does require some explanation, but yeah, but we'll just summarize it real quick. And it's yes, Christians should be involved. And once I got into the analysis, I'm still thinking if a Christian really cares, they're going to stand up at sometimes politically for some stuff. But if you decide your concentration is to just make sure people aren't that can be saved across partisanship, and the partisanship's what's bad. Partisanship's not bad, because you should side with the side that allows God in our country when it comes to politics. But and that's real. And the side that's against God being in the country, they're bringing dealing, killing, and destroying, right? They promote it. That's obvious, right? Open borders that allow illegal drugs and everything else. So we won't get into all that, but drugs, medicine should be regulated, right? You should have a license to deal a medicine. Doesn't have to be a doctor's, but a natural herb like green tea and coffee, you should have a license to deal that stuff, to sell that stuff. And there's certain ones in the streets that if you put them in the leaf form and in a tea form the same way, I think that's just science, and we think we're not allowed to talk science. But I think that you don't drink too much coffee, you don't drink too much tea because it suppresses your appetite, so you can't. And so I do think there's stuff in the streets, if they put it in a tea form for people who are pre-exposed, they could prescribe it as medicine at least and get the people off the dangerous stuff, or if they relapse. So anyway, but I will touch on that subject. There's people that would say, misinterpret the King James Version, or change the King James Version from be not drunk with wine, whereas in is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. Some people leave out wherein is excess, and that's a political thing with the Bible, how they've changed in translations of the Bible. They've left that out to qualify saying demonize and anybody who would use a medicine, right? So bottom line, and the Bible, it's not suggesting that. That's not realistic. It makes sense that, people have had caffeine and different things, and you shouldn't use any of those things excessively because you want to be filled with the Spirit. So to think nobody's going to take a Tylenol, ever take a sip of wine twice a year if they're sick, twice a year while they're sick or something, and that's them rejecting the Spirit. That's not the case necessarily. So I've heard people define it as if that's rejecting the Spirit. It's not. Sometimes it can help you be temperate and when you're in a lot of pain. So temperance is one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit. And if a medicine can help you be temperate instead of in agony and cursing or something, then that's when it can actually be helpful and not interfering with the Spirit. However, any medicine is going to, even a little in moderation, is going to harm your discernment a little more. But so does your temper. The temper harms your discernment. So when it says, be sober, be vigilant, for your adversary, the devil, walketh about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. That's not just, that sober, be sober is not specifically talking about not to be on any medicine. That's also fits there. But it's saying, be sober, be vigilant. It's saying, don't be angry, be watchful. Well, that's the second word, vigilant. But be on guard, be conscientious, be love, joy, peace, be peaceable instead of angry. Patience, be patient. So that's being sober mostly is don't be angry, don't be stressed. In that context, I'm pretty sure that's what it means. But and some people might disagree, but it sure makes sense to me, doesn't it? And it makes sense to do that because that's walking in the Spirit. So anything that takes you away from walking in the Spirit is not good, right? But anyway, I'm gonna close this out. But I'll just reiterate that no, you shouldn't tell other Christians not to be involved. That's the problem I have with people, is they try to tell me not to be involved in politics. They try to silence speech. They say you can't talk about this or that. And I'm just going to regress a little bit, or rewind a little bit, and go against something I said, not against it, but say I'm not 100% sure that a church should take the view that they shouldn't have any involvement in politics, because you're going to have children that grow up in the church who have a gift for that, who have a gift for being judicious, who have a great memory, which I don't, but I simplify things. And I have good perception. The reason I like politics. I have good perception about, and it's a spiritual thing. It's a passion thing that I seek something out, and I have a good formula for seeking out truth and eliminating stuff but the point is, I always come up. I'm pretty good. It's obvious that I always come up with a point that nobody saw. So that's what I mean. I don't have a great memory. I can't remember people's names, that kind of thing. I remember concepts pretty well, key concepts, once I see them, right? But and I like to deal with root causes, because that way, I like to try to explain the domino effect, and that's where I get lost. That if somebody that's really smart can hear me do it, they can explain it really good. They might even not think it's relevant. Those are really smart folks. That's the thing. Psychology here. Sometimes they can regurgitate it, teach it, and see, oh, I can make sense out of that because it makes sense. And they can say it way better than I can and list a whole bunch of stuff. The factors, domino effect factors, and all that, and tying points together. And they can do it real fast and make sense out of it. And they just passed the test and we're the best speaker there or whatever. But then they just still don't value it. I value it. I value that truth and connection, and I see the value of it. I've actually seen the effects of it hurting people's lives, because I'm not saying that makes me more special than everybody else, but I've seen how it hurts people out there. These little lies or white lies or stuff, the science we don't study, and we let fake scientists lie and make slaves and everything else by lying about medicine and demonizing medicine and saying it's of the devil instead of God created the natural plant medicines. We've made a whole slave system out of that, to where you're allowed to steal and kill people. Okay, so people should. The reason I've been able to see it is because I saw all people as being my brother and sister from Adam and Eve. So I don't know why more people can't relate in that sense, that commonality we have, and knowing I'm not perfect, and I know that there is a lot of uncommon things when these people are out there and they're desperate and angry or just become greedy because they've adopted the system because they couldn't beat it. They joined it. And so they just take from people, and that's their way of living. They've adopted the same work ethic as people in religion and stuff. They work hard and work hard and work hard, and they judge people for not working hard like them. If they're working at stealing, they're working hard at stealing, and they're working hard at hustling people and threatening people and bluffing sometimes, but not a lot of them end up not bluffing to threaten people for money and that kind of thing. But then they get pride about it. So the ones that quit, we're bluffing at first, they get pride about scaring people and making people obey them. And when they don't, then they're not bluffing anymore, and they take them out for pride's sake. So not even for the money sometimes. They do it for pride. So that's what happens out there but the system is built to complement that by outlawing medicines and not making safe forms. Also putting the strongest forms of natural plant medicines in the streets while outlawing the natural plant tea that you can make a tea out of, and you wouldn't even drink that much, and it'd be weak. It'd be super weak. That just help take the edge off. So, I mean, that's a medicine world, and a lot of the church today is against that, but that's politics. That's the furthest side of politics that everybody pretty much disagrees with me so far, and agrees with the hypochondria towards medicine, while the evolutionists run all the medicine, and the cartels. They're our medicine man. That's our medicine man. We've hired the cartel. Y'all have hired, basically mostly everybody I'm talking to has hired the cartels to be our medicine man. You know, the Indians were more advanced than that. All right, the Indians, before we had cars and everything else, and before they even had horses. I think they didn't. I don't know if they had horses here, but anyway, until they may have been brought here later by boat, I don't know about that. That's something to think about. Anyhow, yes. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor, don't lie against people and get them killed, to get them, and all that stuff. And so people think they can steal it from them. Don't dehumanize people. That's in Love Your Neighbor. That's written, under there somewhere. But don't covet your neighbor's wife and property. Don't covet. That brings envy and jealous. And, don't hate rich people. Don't hate poor people. Sometimes rich people hate poor people because they have it easy and stuff like that. They don't have all this responsibility. So being rich isn't always cut out to be sometimes. You got all this responsibility. Unless, if I were ever rich, I'm not saying I'm not, but how did you know I'm not? No, I'm joking. But if I ever were rich, my preference is to live humbly still, so I don't have to worry about all the bills. And I would prefer my monies to go towards ministries, frankly, stuff that I support, which would be my writings mostly, and promoting Bibles. Now, there's preachers I would promote and all that. I do the same thing. I do it for free, right? I do it on Facebook. I promote the good gospel singers. I promote it all. So that's partly because I'm living humbly. I'm not worried about making money already, right? So I'm able to promote all these other people's stuff. Anything good I see, I promote it. I don't just promote my stuff. So and that's for a reason, because I want good words to get out there. I want people to see the light. Now, the social media blocks my views, so they don't see that I'm promoting. I have the best, if it was called a TV channel, I think I have the best TV channel, the best Facebook page, and best of anybody I've ever seen, just about, right? Now, I think I've seen a lot of good ones in the last few years, but the reason if I had to grade it, I'm not competing, but if I had to grade it, the reason I'd say it could be the best is because I promote everybody's good stuff that I find that I can fit. Now, I've had to tap it down a little bit so you could see the best ones, the most effective messages, and what I think are the most effective messages. I've done that. So anyway, I'm just saying that's, but it's obvious, like, for instance, if there's a Whitney Houston post, gets a million views. I repost that Whitney Houston post, it gets 0 views on my page. That's Facebook doing that to me. That's the social sites doing that to block mine, because they don't want people to see all good stuff, right? And so I've posted many Whitney Houston stuff too, even though I like her positive influence for the most part, but I don't know if we agree theologically or not. I kind of suspect we don't all the way, but I think she had a good heart, though, and I think she was lied to a lot. So that's the way I view that. And so, like about who's racist and stuff, she's lied to about that, but she didn't fall for it all the way either. I've seen videos where she didn't fall for that stuff, but then sometimes I saw some where she did fall for it. Anyway, but I've posted other people's good stuff. I post inspirational stuff. She's definitely inspirational just because of her God-given vocal gifts and ability. So, but I post Billy Graham. I post David Jeremiah. Used to post Candace Owens. I'm not sure if that's a good thing anymore. It's debatable. I'm not ruling her out yet, but I think she may fall into a bracket of like Bill O'Reilly types a little bit. They may not have similar. She may say, "What, Bill O'Reilly?" But into an independent realm, and I think that part I probably can confirm that she wants to make sure she doesn't get too partisan either way, Democrat or Republican. So she's aims to be independent, but I think she may aim too hard at that. Maybe, but I don't know. I can't diagnose it. I'm just catching up. I've been behind on studying, being able to study information. I'm glad she puts information out there for me to study. There's some information I had heard that I do know is true, but I think, in my view, she's looking at it from the wrong angle. So I didn't mean to get off the subject here, but that's politics. I mean, we want to make sure that even with basketball, I do this. Are they telling the truth about who the best players are? They weren't telling the truth about Michael Jordan because they completely ignored that he had Scottie Pippen. So Scottie Pippen is one of the best players of all time. And we're starting to learn that more and more. It's not even, and that's his teammate. Michael Jordan never won without Scottie Pippen. But do I believe Michael Jordan's still debatably the best player? Yes, but I'm not saying that 100%, because so is LeBron, so is Wilt Chamberlain. And you could even debate Magic Johnson, but I think LeBron edges him out, not as a point guard. Magic's the best point guard, but then you could debate whether his defense is the best in shooting. So, but as far as passing and all that, I'd say Magic. But then you have Larry Bird you could throw in there. You could almost throw Kevin Durant in there. And Hakeem Olajuwon. And Bill Russell he's the best defensive player, but on offense, it's debatable. So, but all the other guys I mentioned are good on offense and defense. Okay? But Hakeem Olajuwon can guard. So the point is, they play on people's bias a lot, and I've helped authenticate that. I helped revive Deion Sanders' name a while back because I believe in truth. Deion Sanders was lied about and told he wasn't that good and all that. They didn't use him in the media ever since he dumped ice water on a reporter years ago. That's my theory. That's when it started. They never gave Deion Sanders his proper credit and ranking. But he's one of the greatest athletes of all time. So when you're arguing the greatest athletes of all time, I won't say all time, because if you go back to Samson in the Bible, but in modern times, Deion's one of the best athletes we knew. And that, guess what? There's also some that never played sports who could have been too, right? And like myself, I played sports, but I didn't stick with them. So I'm joking. I don't know if I would have been that. There's some guy that runs the 800 meters now, the 800. No way I could run as fast as him, but I could have done much better had I stuck it out. I'm a pretty good athlete. Basketball, I'm even better at than track field. I'm better at soccer. I'm better at football. Maybe even better at football than basketball. I don't know. But I didn't stick those things out. So I'm just saying, and I knew a person one time that I don't mean to conversate and keep this long, but I'm going to. I didn't, since it's already there, right? This is just qualifying, part of my thinking process. What is wrong with me talking about this stuff? Nothing. What's wrong with it? Nothing. I'm a Christian. I like the truth. And I like to give people due credit for if that God gave them a gift and a talent. I like to give them due credit, which I do that for LeBron James too, even though he doesn't agree with me politically. But when it comes to the physical skills God gave him and the fact that somehow he uses good philosophy in basketball on the court, but doesn't use good philosophy when it comes to spiritual life and politics, in my view. I think that has to be called out. I wish he could hear it and hear the view of people who are not hateful, like me. I'm not hateful, but they have people that might define me as hateful, right? As hateful. No, I don't want LeBron to go to hell. I hope he changes his ways, and he's claimed Christ before, but he promotes the politics that hate Christ. But does he realize that? The thing is, I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or if he's ever had a chance to realize it. He's been taught probably that the KKK came from Christianity, and that's a lie. He's been taught that lie. But the KKK came from evolutionists, evolution. They believed in evolution. They believed white people were more advanced in the evolutionary cycle than black people, right? And that we were two different races. The Bible doesn't teach that. It teaches one human race. Furthermore, the KKK burned crosses because they hated Christ. They hated seeing slaves singing and being happy and hopeful because of Christ. So they hated Christ, right? That was what they came from. Now they infiltrated the church later with prohibition. Everything got mixed up when the scientists, evolutionists, I pushed prohibition in my view. And as far as I can tell, 1915 and all that. So they pushed prohibition of natural plant medicines back then, the coca leaf that used to be in Coca-Cola. And they made the strongest forms and put them in the street to make it easier to demonize the medicines because you got this concentrated strong, you take 500 leaves and you make it into a strong form of concentrated stuff that makes it bad. It makes it dangerous. So it doesn't make it bad, actually, as far as if it helps depression, if it helps pain. I'll put it like that. So that has pain. Obviously, it has a pain remedy in it naturally, and it's good for depression remedy, maybe for serotonin or something, but temporarily, right? So as a medicine, not as a natural means. But it is natural, what I'm saying, but it's not natural like an amino acid. It works with it's something your body uses as like a food. It's not a food, it's a medicine. So it is natural, but it's a natural medicine, but it's not a food. Same with coffee and tea. Those are not foods. Those are herbs, natural medicines. They are not foods. And so when they're telling you those are healthy, they're hurting people. And when they treat it like a food, that's a healthy food. It's not a food. It's an herb. All right? You treat it like a medicine sparingly. You could take it like a medicine. It has some benefits, but some addictive properties. Anyways, how many people have died from a stroke from too much caffeine, too much coffee and tea? Lots, I bet you. And also, they dehydrate you. But that's why, in that form, because they have natural diuretic properties and stuff, they dehydrate you and stuff, and it does something to your stomach. Appetite suppressant. It's an appetite suppressant, and it causes you not to do too much. It also they have properties in them that, like the tea leaf, has theanine in it to counteract the effects of the caffeine. And so it keeps a balance there, which you don't have when you make concentrated forms of something. And so there's a lot of trickery there. And God, it is science, and we're denying science, and we're not contesting scientists on medicinal science, because how dare we even talk about medicine because somebody might be tempted by it now, might drink it, and you cannot smear their delusional hypochondria ways on. We have to teach everybody to be delusional and hypochondriacs about this issue. And what happens is people, a lot of them, don't believe that those lies, the delusion. They don't believe the hypochondria because they saw so and so do it and it didn't hurt them, and then they end up sometimes being tempted to use, and that doesn't make them the worst person in the world. That's one sin they gave into. Well, and we made it more of a sin than it is. We didn't offer them a safe form. So all they have out there, if they give into it and they go out there, what do? Run into the strongest form that's dangerous and can pop their heart and kill them automatically. That's true. It can do that. And also, they may give them a strong form. They take a puff, and then the dealers hit them over the head or just threaten them with a knife to take all their money. And if you refuse to give them your money, then they might even kill you. That's not the medicine killing them at that stage, but it did make them dizzy, scared, paranoid, knew they couldn't call police because they took something illegal. That's psychological warfare. Okay, so politics matter. We should want to protect people. We shouldn't ignore politics and demonize medicine to a point that we've only created the kinds of medicine and situations that if somebody gives into the sin, what we call a sin that's not a sin necessarily, it can be a sin to some people to take a medicine and not to other people. All right, to take a medicine as a medicine. When they need a medicine, it's okay. All right, and you can't always decide when that's okay. So it's not in the Ten Commandments because that we can't dictate when a person is helped by a medicine or hurt by a medicine. They have to decide that and learn that on their own. And it's best to just never start it, never do it. If you never eat spinach, you'll never miss spinach. But I had a good point I forgot. But anyway, so we shouldn't be supporting this system that they have to go get killed. If they give in to taking a medicine, that's what they deserved. That's what they get. And they had overdosed on it. We told them those drugs were crazy and all this kind of stuff. Well, yeah, it is because you outlawed the natural plant form. And you've created the cartels by doing that. You've helped the KKK and the evolutionists. And so that's what's confusing to people. They think we're racist. Christians are racist a lot of times because they support the evolutionists running our science and running our drug cartels. And they were racist. They did make those laws to be racist back then. They dumped it on black communities. Now, it was convenient to also dump it on poor communities and white communities. And they gave speed to white communities. I don't know when all that started, but at one point in time, they gave crack cocaine to black communities. They put that formula out there, and now a lot of the gangs like it because they get greedy and they make slaves. And so they're lying a lot of times about hating slavery. They love slavery because they're the slave masters of other black folks on crack cocaine and now of white folks on crack cocaine. But what the evolutionists dumped, maybe on purpose, in white communities was speed, softer forms of meth that aren't as dangerous, so white people can work night shift and keep their job and love working on some speed, which is probably ends up being a little more consistent energy level than caffeine in smaller forms. And I've seen that, and I've heard about it, that it exists, so the strong forms are not good. Strong form, if anything, is dangerous, not good. But they put it into thieves' hands. They want the thieves, and the thieves want the strong forms, so they can steal from anybody who takes it. And then you can think they spend all their money on this. No, they don't. It doesn't cost that much. Their money was stolen by those networks, and I don't believe. That's why I've been to white churches where they say, "I spent all my money, $2,000 in one day on Lortabs or something." Let's see. Those Lortabs go. So I'm contesting the truth, and this is political. It's needed. It is needed because you're living a lie. You're allowing people to get killed for the first time they take a sip of beer and stuff like that, and acting like, well, they don't need to live anyway. We don't need them because they're going to be an alcoholic if they took one sip of beer. That's not true, and shouldn't be a death penalty, obviously. But what you should get in trouble for is the DUI if you do that kind of stuff. Their behavior, basically. If somebody steals while they're on a drug, all those kind of things, you should go after that. But you should have safe forms just like you do with coffee and green tea. You can make safe forms from those things by putting 2 leaves in a bag instead of them smoking 15 leaves at once, or putting 50 leaves of concentrated form into a powder. which goes straight into your blood system. A pill is safer than that because it's gradual. Well, I got to go. Yes, be involved in politics.